The rain hammered against the windows of my apartment in Chicago, mirroring the storm raging inside me. Barnaby, a 43-year-old architect, stared at the divorce papers on my desk, the ink blurring through the tears I couldn't seem to stop. My wife, Coralia, was gone. Not just physically, but the woman I thought I knew, the woman I had built my life around, had vanished, replaced by a stranger I barely recognized. We had been married for 15 years. 15 years of what I thought was unwavering love, mutual respect, and shared dreams. We met at a design conference in Berlin, a whirlwind romance sparked by shared passions for Bauhaus architecture and obscure German cinema. We built a life together in Chicago, a beautiful brownstone in Lincoln Park, a thriving practice, and a comfortable routine that I now realized was a carefully constructed facade masking a deep rot. It started subtly. Coralia, a talented interior designer, began working longer hours at her firm, claiming a demanding new client. I, engrossed in a particularly challenging project designing a new museum wing, didn't think much of it. Dinners became less frequent, and when we did eat together, her mind seemed miles away. Our conversations dwindled to logistical necessities, groceries, bills, weekend plans that never materialized. The first red flag, the one I foolishly ignored, was the change in her scent. Coralia had always worn a light, floral perfume. Suddenly, I detected a musky, unfamiliar fragrance clinging to her clothes, a scent that lingered in our bedroom long after she had left for work. I chalked it up to a new sample at her firm, a fleeting curiosity that I dismissed with a shrug. Then came the late-night phone calls. I would wake up to the muffled sound of her voice in the hallway, hushed whispers that stopped abruptly when I stirred. When I asked, she claimed it was her mother, Elara, who had been struggling with insomnia. I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. The thought of Coralia, my Coralia, being dishonest was unbearable. I was so deeply in love with her, so committed to our life together, that I blinded myself to the obvious signs. The truth exploded into my life one Tuesday morning. I had woken up early with a terrible flu, unable to face the day. Coralia, already dressed for work, fussed over me, making me tea and urging me to stay in bed. After she left, I drifted back to sleep, only to be jolted awake by the insistent buzzing of her phone on the nightstand. I knew I shouldn't, but curiosity, that insidious serpent, coiled in my gut. I picked it up. It was a text message. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Thinking about last night." The rest of the message was too explicit to bear. My blood ran cold. My hands trembled so violently that I almost dropped the phone. I scrolled through the recent messages. The sender was listed as Rhys Office. Rhys. I didn't know any Rhys. I clicked on the contact. His picture was there. A handsome, smirking man with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. I didn't recognize him. I spent the next hour in a daze, pacing the apartment, replaying every moment of the past few months, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. The late nights, the new perfume, the hushed phone calls, it all clicked into place with sickening clarity. My wife was having an affair. When Coralia came home that evening, I confronted her. I showed her the text message. Her face drained of color. She didn't deny it. Instead, she burst into tears, a torrent of guilt and shame that felt strangely hollow. "It just happened," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake." "A mistake," I repeated, my voice raw with disbelief. "You've been lying to me for months. You've been sleeping with someone else. How can you call that a mistake?" She told me about Rhys, a new senior designer at her firm. She claimed he was charming, attentive, and made her feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. She said she felt trapped in our routine, suffocated by the predictability of our life. She blamed me, indirectly, for being too focused on my work, for not paying enough attention to her needs. I listened numbly as she spun her tale of justification, a pathetic attempt to rationalize her betrayal. I didn't interrupt. I didn't argue. I just listened, the pain building inside me like a pressure cooker about to explode. "I'm sorry," she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry isn't enough, Coralia," I said, my voice flat and cold. "Sorry doesn't erase the lies. Sorry doesn't undo the betrayal. I want you to leave." She didn't fight me. She packed her bags that night and moved into a small apartment downtown. The divorce was swift and brutal. We divided our assets, sold the brownstone, and severed all ties. I was left alone in the shell of our former life, haunted by the ghost of the woman I had loved. For months I was consumed by grief and rage. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't concentrate on my work. I drank too much, isolating myself from friends and family. I replayed the events of the past few months over and over in my head, searching for answers, for some semblance of understanding. One evening, fueled by alcohol and desperation, I decided to find Rhys. I tracked him down through social media. His profile was public. He lived in a trendy loft in River North, drove a flashy sports car, and seemed to be living the high life. A wave of anger washed over me. He had stolen my wife, destroyed my marriage, and he was living the life I deserved. I spent weeks planning my revenge. I considered confronting him, physically assaulting him, even ruining his career. But none of those options felt satisfying enough. I wanted to inflict the same pain on him that he had inflicted on me. I wanted to destroy his life, just as he had destroyed mine. Then I discovered something that changed everything. While digging through Coralia's old emails, I found a series of messages between her and Rhys that revealed a shocking truth. Rhys wasn't just having an affair with Coralia. He was a serial cheater, a manipulative predator who preyed on vulnerable women. He had a history of seducing married women, draining their bank accounts, and then disappearing without a trace. Coralia was just another victim in his elaborate scheme. He had used her, manipulated her, and ultimately discarded her when she no longer served his purpose. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. Coralia wasn't just a cheater. She was also a victim, and I in my blind rage had been about to destroy the life of a woman who had already been through hell. I decided to change my plan. Instead of seeking revenge on Rhys, I would expose him. I gathered all the evidence I could find, the emails, the text messages, the financial records, and compiled a comprehensive report detailing his predatory behavior. I sent the report to his employer, to his family, and to several news outlets. The fallout was swift and devastating. Rhys was fired from his job, ostracized by his friends and family, and publicly shamed in the media. His reputation was ruined, his career in tatters. He had become a pariah, a cautionary tale of greed and deceit. I also contacted the other women Rhys had victimized. I shared my story, offered my support, and encouraged them to come forward. Together, we formed a support group, a safe space where we could share our experiences, heal our wounds, and rebuild our lives. As for Coralia, I didn't forgive her, but I did offer her a measure of compassion. I understood that she had been manipulated and exploited by a master con artist. I knew that she was suffering, and I didn't want to add to her pain. We started meeting for coffee, cautiously at first, then more regularly. We talked about everything: our past, our present, our future. We rebuilt our friendship slowly and painstakingly, brick by brick. We never rekindled our romantic relationship. The trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. But we did find a new kind of love, a deeper, more profound connection based on honesty, respect, and mutual support. It took years, but I eventually healed. I learned to forgive not just Coralia, but myself. I learned to let go of the anger and resentment that had consumed me for so long. I learned to embrace the present and to look forward to the future. I even found love again. Her name is Aurelia, and she's everything Coralia wasn't: honest, compassionate, and fiercely loyal. We met at a local art gallery, bonding over our shared love of impressionist paintings. We're building a new life together, a life based on trust, respect, and unwavering commitment. Looking back, I realized that Coralia's betrayal, as painful as it was, ultimately made me a stronger, more resilient person. It forced me to confront my own vulnerabilities, to reevaluate my priorities, and to appreciate the true meaning of love and loyalty. It was a painful chapter in my life, but it was also a necessary one. It taught me valuable lessons about forgiveness, compassion, and the enduring power of the human spirit. The rain has stopped now. The sun is shining through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the city. I take a deep breath, close my eyes, and smile. The storm has passed, and I have survived.